Hi there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. My number one concern right now moving forward, terrorist attacks in the United States. You can call them lone wolves. I don't think they really exist. I believe that any lone wolf operating in a jihadi fashion is being egged on by the jihadists overseas. They're being groomed and molded by evildoers here in the United States, evildoers that were let in, of course, by Joe Biden. We know that there are terrorists here in the United States. How many active sleeper cells are here? I believe there are sleeper cells in every major to medium city in America, and some very small cities and towns we have sleeper cells as well. What is a sleeper cell? My definition of a sleeper cell is an organized group of people, quote, holy warriors, jihadists, Muslim radicals that want to inflict the most amount of pain, violence, and death on America. And they are being funded by Muslim nations, bad actors, groups overseas, highly coordinated by the Irans of the world, by Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, ISIS. Those are sleeper cells. You also have would-be terrorists, those that are dialing in to the Islamic rhetoric of death to America, training themselves to create havoc here in the United States, and then going out and doing it. Those people are not lone wolves in my mind. Those people are egged on by the first set of groups that I talked about. And it is by design that they motivate these individuals to go out and create havoc, death, and destruction in America. So our job right now is to stop these attacks from happening before they happen. So we know that intelligence community is working on this. We know that federal law enforcement is working on this. But are you working on it? You need to have your eyes peeled. You need to have your head on a swivel. You need to be at a heightened sense of awareness. And I don't mean to overscare you, but if you're taking your kids, you want to sit outside on a patio at an Uncle Julio's someplace, you better still have your eyes peeled, because that Uncle Julio's may be the number one spot where the first suicide bomber blows himself up in. Now, I'm not picking on Uncle Julio's. It's just a popular place here in Dallas where lots of families sit outside. It could be anywhere. It could be a McDonald's. It could be a subway station. It could be a bus stop. It could be a high school sporting event. You've got to have your eyes out there, open, and you got to say something when you see something. Doesn't mean law enforcement can come in and arrest anybody for suspicious behavior, but you put eyes on them, it certainly serves as a deterrent. So again, we're going to talk a lot about this today as Iran ups its rhetoric against the United States, calling for jihad. Iranian leaders say it is now a, quote, religious war against the United States. That is a jihad. And they are calling on any of their supporters anywhere in the world to rise up against the Western world, against the Zionists, against the non-believers. And anybody that doesn't believe in their radical way of thinking is a non-believer. That goes for Muslims as well. So anybody out there could be targeted, and you could get caught up in this mess. A very, very serious concern. I'm going to spell it all out to you about why it is such a serious concern. But before I do that, all of this leads me back to my number one belief that we need to seriously be considering about what to do with your finances. So Colonial Metals Group is helping people protect their portfolio with gold and silver. Precious metals have stood the test of time as a portfolio protection maneuver. A hedge against inflation, yes. A hedge against chaos, you better believe it. What's more chaotic than having China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, other BRICS nations waging war on the American dollar, trying to unseat the American dollar as the world's currency? They are doing anything they can to do that, and if they are successful, you're going to hope you had money in gold. So how do you learn more about this? Just get your free gold guide from Colonial Metals. freegoldguide.com/grant. That's freegoldguide.com/grant. Or you can call them at 1-800-458-7356. Grab a pen and paper. Take down the number. 1-800-458-7356. I trust Colonial Metals. It's why they are with me. A lot of gold companies came to me to pitch them Colonial Metals is the one that I chose because I know these guys personally now. So I urge you, do what I did. Take the steps necessary to protect your hard-earned nest egg. Colonial Metals can help you do that. All right, with that, folks, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
God bless America. God bless the United States military. God bless President Trump. And may God bless all of you, folks. What a weekend it was. What a last few days it has been as we continue to unpack the bombing of Iran and what the fallout from it could be. My only concern, and I mean this, what should I say? My biggest concern, it's not my only concern. I got a lot of concerns, right? All we do, this whole program is filled with concerns. But my biggest concern right now is a terrorist attack in the United States. I believe the open borders that Joe Biden has unleashed on us. We had millions of gotaways. We've got 20 million illegals. We know that we've captured, hundreds of potential terrorists that were on the terror watch list. But remember, a terrorist on the terror watch list is like a child molester on the child predator list. The small majority of them, the small minority of them, most terrorists are not on the terror watch list, just as most child molesters are not on the predator list that you can go look up to see if one lives in your neighborhood. They're just not. So if we catch 100 of them, how many of them slip through the cracks? And then how many others are being bred here at home? This is always another concern of mine is that the violent rhetoric of Islam is growing homegrown terrorists here. There is an imam named Yasser Qadhi, Qadhi. I don't know how you say his name. I really could care less, quite frankly. But Yasser is now pledging his allegiance to Iran. He is located right here in the United States. Would you like to hear what he's saying after the bombing by the United States of Iran? This is frightening. This man's on U.S. soil. Roll 27.
Be angry at those whom you deserve to be angry at. And it is those politicians who sided with the abettors of massacring. But even in that anger, and even those who sided with that dhulm, let us be clear here. The two sides are not equal. On the one side, you have the bloodthirsty colonialist settler enterprise, a machine of cruelty that has industrialized genocide, trampled on every single remnant of human dignity, unleashed a cruelty so This is Israel. That is the reality. Contrast this with the other side, Iran right now. The average person in that country has nothing to do with the foreign policy.
Yeah, the average person in the United States and in Israel has nothing to do with foreign policy. But the difference is in the United States, we elect our leaders. In Israel, they elect their leaders. And Iran, you're out of luck. You don't elect anything. So, no, I don't have a fight with the people of Iran. In fact, I love the Iranian people. Everybody that's Iranian that comes to the United States, and by the way, no offense to all of you, but I sometimes giggle when you tell me you're Persian, okay? Oh, I'm from Persia. No, there's no such thing. There's no such place. You're Iranian. So just say you're Iranian. I understand you're embarrassed by your country. I understand you're embarrassed by the leadership of your country. But, this idea that you're Persian, you're hiding from where you're really from, and you're from Iran. So just say it and say that you want a change there. I mean, how important is it that we're truthful with ourselves? Now, this guy is now saying that the bloodthirsty colonists, well, he's not just talking about Israel. He's talking about the United States as well. I don't think anybody here is bloodthirsty. No, Democrats are going to claim President Trump is. President Trump doesn't want war. He's gotten us out of more wars than any other president in American history. I play you the sound bites of this Yasser Qadhi because I want you to know who is roaming the streets of California, roaming the streets of Texas, roaming the streets of Florida, roaming the streets of New York and Iowa and South Dakota, and every country, every county and every state in this country has somebody like this guy. Roll the next clip from him.
In that land, the adhan is being called. In that land, the masajid are being filled. In that land, sajda is done. In that land, the Quran is recited. In that land, as this battle is going on, they are invoking Allah for help. How can you compare this with that? Wallahi, this is the height of injustice. No matter how angry you are, and yes, wallahi, some of that anger is legitimate. Some of that anger against politicians of that country of Iran is legitimate. No matter how angry you are, the two are not and cannot be the same. And also, by the way, do you really think, oh, innocent person who thinks these two are equal, do you really think that Israel only wants to destroy Iran and that is it? Have you lost all sense and sensibility? Do you not understand that after Iran, it is every single Muslim superpower in the region? Do you really think that it is just one land? You cheering them on against Iran is you cheering them on against yourself when your own turn comes.
No. That's not the case at all. And in fact, you see what this guy does. He does exactly what every Democrat in America does. He tries to flip the script. I'm telling you, Israel wants to do exactly what Iran actually wants to do. The Quran calls for basically the destruction of all non-believers. The Quran calls for its followers to spread Islam throughout the world and take over nations. That's the bottom line here. So when this guy, Yasser Qaddafi, is screaming and yelling that Israel is going to colonize across the globe, Israel doesn't want to colonize across the globe. And in fact, I don't even think Israel wants to eradicate Iran. Israel simply wants to eradicate the threat. And the threat is in the supreme leader and the IRGC that runs Iran and has had such a stranglehold on that country for a long time, since the revolution, when it was a decent country. Decent. And I do believe in many respects the Iranian people are freedom-loving capitalists. You see many of the Iranians that come to this country have successful businesses. They're business owners. They're great members of society. As President Trump says, can it be a little difficult to deal with in business? Yes. Well, what? They're strong and tough-headed. Okay. I'm half Italian. We're strong and tough-headed, too. So this guy is the guy that frightens me. I'll play another clip. Go. Roll the next one.
They have publicly and blatantly said they want a greater Israel project. They want to gobble up every single Muslim land and region. Some of their maps that they say greater Israel includes Mecca and Medina. And here you are, oh naive, foolish person, blinded in your hatred, angry in your sectarianism, believing the two are the same. No, wallahi, they are not the same. And I say this as somebody who strongly disagrees theologically and politically with the country of Iran. But still, on the one hand, you have Iman, even if it has mistakes. On the other, you have not just kufr, but blatant kufr. Not just average kufr, but the most deviant, arrogant type of kufr that we have not seen for many millennia. This is pharaonic kufr on the one side. No matter whatever mistakes the other side is making, you cannot equate the two. And so, in this current conflict going on, I state unequivocally that yes, while I do not support Iran unconditionally, in this conflict, without a doubt, the aggressor is Israel. Without a doubt, the dhulm that is happening from and because of Israel. And I will criticize Israel a million times before I criticize the other side for having done what exactly in the current conflict.
What exactly in the current conflict? How about unleash terror across the globe? How about fund groups like Hezbollah and Hamas? How about fund other organizations that wreak havoc on the way of life for American citizens? And yet this guy wants to equate somehow that Iran can take the moral high ground? I don't think so. And this guy's on American soil. And I believe what he does is he rallies support against America, the quote Zionists, to the point where somebody's going to snap and they're going to light off a suicide bomb on a street side cafe in Beverly Hills. You watch. I do believe it's only a matter of time until we start seeing that. But the threat of that cannot stop President Trump from doing his thing, from doing what he needs to do, and that is keep America safe. There is an Iranian analyst. She was an advisor in Iran, I believe. Her name is Nahid Pariza. She had some very tough words for Americans. I believe she's in the United States as well. You think death to America is tough words? She's here on U.S. soil. So we'll continue to play some clips because I want you to see where the threat really lies right now. Folks, you know I'm all about making money and making money the easy way, all right? How would you like to get up to 20% annualized income, 20% annualized interest on your investment, income paid to you monthly? This is what Get20Now.com can do for you. It's a company called NFN8. They have industrialized cryptocurrency mining. They're buying electricity so cheap. You invest with them. They, in return, pay you up to 20% annualized interest on your investment, direct deposited into your account every month. It's like cash flow while you sleep. I love this investment. I know the guys. I have invested with them a sizable amount too, by the way, and they've lived up to their promises every step of the way. So if you don't want to take part in the wild swings of Bitcoin, but you want to get that guaranteed contractually result, Get20Now.com should be for you. I want you to talk to these guys. Talk to them directly. They're good guys. The owners will call you directly. It's not going to be some sales guy. Get20Now.com. Make sure you call them back. Answer their call when they call you. Get20Now.com. Cash flow, baby. Right into your bank account every month. 20% annualized income cannot be beat. All right. So President Trump bombs Iran. We told you it would happen. He said within 2 weeks. We knew it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. Now the question becomes, does President Trump want a regime change or not? He did offer up a Truth Social post that basically said, well, how do you make Iran great again without a regime change? MIGA, M-I-G-A, make Iran great again. I think this was stoking the flames of chaos. I think President Trump likes to do that. I don't think you're going to see any kind of United States operation to prop a new regime up. But I will say I agree with him that if Iran does want to be great again, it does need to have a regime change, because currently you have people that think like this. Cut 33.
This war will be ended by the full victory of Iran. And after this, Iran is going to be a great global power. And for that moment, pray to God for your existence. Okay? You murdered Haj Qasem Soleimani. From the January 1:20 a.m., we are waiting for this moment. You gave us this. So thank you. We don't forget you murdered Haj Qasem Soleimani, and it's so hard to hold back this anger, to not.
This is what I mean, folks. I believed the taking out of Soleimani, the execution of Qasem Soleimani, the general that was responsible for terror attacks against Americans and the Western world, was a bigger deal to the Iranians than the nuclear sites. The nuclear sites are important, no doubt about it, to them. But that woman is Nahid Pariza. She is an Iranian analyst who's now threatening America, death to America. Somehow she's so delusional. She thinks she's going to come over after us and Iran's going to take over the world. What hookah have you been smoking? Is that Iranian, by the way, or is that Turkish? I don't know. Smoking the hookah. Maybe she's smoking the ganja. She's smoking something, though, to be making claims like that. You think the, quote, supreme leader in Iran has anything on President Trump? They like to talk about Allah. President Trump likes to talk about God. Cut 5.
And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, you tell me the tone. Does President Trump want to save lives or does he want to take lives? It is clear to me the tone of this woman, Nahid Parija, is about taking lives, any life that doesn't agree with them. Now, you have Republicans out there that are now getting on board, screaming and yelling about President Trump. He shouldn't have done this, that, and the other. Now's the time to get behind President Trump. Certainly you can't get behind this woman. Roll the next cut. 34.
Allow this anger decide for us. Now it's the time. It's only the anger. It's only the anger of oppressed people all around the world that Iran is leading. Iran is keeping this anger. We are agitated. We are in the moment of revolution of 1979. You gave us that moment back. We are living 1979 Islamic revolution again, and you will see the impacts of it. You will see death to America, down with imperialism, down with Zionism. That's it.
How dare you? How dare you? 1979 was the worst year in Iranian history when the revolution happened and these dictators took over and ruined a fabulous country. And now she chants death to America? What are you going to do about it? Seriously, when you look at how this military strike on Iran went down, the strategic mission and how it was carried out with the ruse and all of the aircraft that went into supporting these B-2 bombers, my Lord, it makes me proud to be an American. I've never been more proud to be an American than I am now. And I don't need Nahid Parija telling me death to America. I take my cues from President Trump. I take my cues from people like J.D. Vance. And I'll tell you, this Dan Raisin Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, hell of a guy. Pete Hegseth, I couldn't have been more proud watching him over the weekend. We finally have leadership in America. This is a day to be celebrated. Now, you never want to drop bombs, but sometimes you have to. 855-785-8255 is the number to weigh in on the program. Let's go out to Bonnie in San Bernardino, line 2.
Hey there.
Hi, Bonnie. What do you say?
Well, I'm just intrigued by the military name of the operation. This was Midnight Hammer.
Yes.
Yes. And in Hebrew, hammer is derived the word Maccabees, the Maccabee revolution that took back the second temple for the Jews.
Okay.
There was the Maccabees. That's hammer. And so when I heard hammer, I automatically thought, well, maybe this has something to do with the ongoing desire for the Jews to have rebuild their temple. It could be like an obvious start to something in that direction in a very, aggressive way, not really aggressive in a bad way, but they already have the red heifers. They already have everything they need to put in there. And that's how we got Hanukkah, was because God provided 8 days of oil for them in order to be.
Let me ask you, just so I don't sound ignorant here, but Maccabee, Maccabiah, is that right?
No, it's the BEE. I just Google it for the short version, but
Okay, because I don't know how you say that, Maccabi games, but the Jewish Olympics were supposed to unfold, and they have a very similar name. And they were supposed to unfold basically this week, and they had to be canceled because of this. So I thought you raised an interesting perspective. I don't believe there's
interesting.
any such thing as coincidences. So you may be onto something, Bonnie.
Well, anyway, I'm really delighted and proud of our military for doing such a fantastic thing. It's like, it's unbelievable almost.
Well, I'm with you on that one. Thank you so much for the phone call. Real quick, let's go out to line 4. Antoinette, what say you, my friend?
Hey, good morning, my brother.
How are you, Antoinette?
You know what? I am so proud of our president. I am so proud of all our leaders. And damn, I am so proud of our military. We've been dealing with with the Iranian leadership for the last, 4 or 5 decades. All they do is lie. And I'm sorry, these people, I'm going to say American citizens that are on the side of the Iranian leaders and are condemning us, just like they allowed that so-called American citizen. I am sick and tired of the illegals as well as some of these legal immigrants to our country. They don't assimilate. Granted, we all have our backgrounds. You've got the Italian, I'm Latina, those other Middle Eastern, fine. But we need to say the Pledge of Allegiance in our country again in our classrooms. Number 2, we need to have civic lessons about our country and assimilate and speak English and be for America first. Because I am over these people.
Well, I will tell you, assimilation is the key to it all. Antoinette, thank you so much for the phone call. Assimilation is key. When my great-grandfather and grandmother came to this country, they did their best to assimilate into America. They learned the language. They quickly decided how America works and that it's the land of opportunity, and they capitalized on all of that and had great success because of it. And I would say assimilation is why. If you bury yourself into your own community where you don't speak English, where you don't do, and literally there are Islamic communities. They're trying to create some in Texas, which is very, very frightening, by the way, where they want to totally Sharia law. Beyond that, though, you can go to Hispanic communities. We have them right here in L.A. where you don't even have to speak English. You can go into the bodega, you can buy your groceries, and you never have to utter a word of English. That isn't right. You're not doing anybody any favors by that. 855-785-8255, the number to weigh in. Antoinette mentioned say the Pledge of Allegiance. What if I told you to say the 10 Commandments in school? What if we put the 10 Commandments up in every classroom? A law was passed to do just that, not in California, but I'll tell you about it when we come back. Let me tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. Why are you with the big 3 cell phone companies? They're literally doing everything they can to ruin America with the woke policies, the DEI nonsense, funding places like Planned Parenthood. But if you get with Patriot Mobile, you get America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. And if you use my promo code GRANT at patriotmobile.com/Grant, you'll get a free month service, which is a big savings. So just call Patriot Mobile at 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT, and do what I did. Make the switch. In fact, my phone has 2 networks, 1 phone. So I have 2 lines on this phone. No cell phone company can do this because you choose what network you want to be on, but you don't pay the woke cell phone companies. You go with Patriot Mobile, and you know that a portion of the proceeds they make from your cell phone service are going to fund an agenda that's conservative, that's moving us in the right direction, that supports conservative causes. This is what I love about Patriot Mobile. If you're still with the other cell phone companies, I'm going to ask you why, and I'd ask you respectfully, make the switch today. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT, as I said, for a free month service. 972-PATRIOT, 972-PATRIOT. Make sure you tell them that Grant Stinchfield sent you. All right, folks, what would you do if I told you that California passed a law requiring the 10 Commandments be posted on a 16 by 20-inch poster in every classroom across the state? Well, this is what the state of Texas did. Governor Greg Abbott just signed that bill into law. 5.5 million students in Texas, 9,000 public schools will now see the 10 Commandments plastered on the walls of every classroom in Texas, public school, that is. Now, I love this idea because the Ten Commandments, after all, are what framed our Constitution. Our Constitution is based on inalienable rights handed down by God. The Ten Commandments, obviously, a fundamental part of the Bible, biblical history, who we are as people, the values we should all have. I mean, I could go through them for you. If you don't remember all 10 commandments, we can do that. But I'm curious as to what you think about this. To me, it is important that our students remember the values of life. Values for anyone. And by the way, the 10 commandments shouldn't just be Christian values. They should be values of every single human being. Thou shalt not kill. That's a good one. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Anything you worship more than God is a graven image, according to the Bible. Cars, clothes, sports. Just don't be greedy, man. That's a good lesson. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord of God in vain. Now, yes, in some respects, these are religious, but it's not mandating the students follow this certain religion. It's only reminding them about things. So people will bring up this idea of the separation of church and state. Well, you know that's not written in the Constitution anywhere. Separation of church and state. That's what every Democrat will bring up. And what I would offer up to you is Roger Williams, one of our founders, he was the founder of Rhode Island, first coined that phrase of separation in church and state. But then it appeared later, Thomas Jefferson wrote a letter to the Danbury Baptists, basically solidifying this mantra of the free exercise and establishment clauses in the Constitution were together built a, quote, wall of separation between church and state. But again, yes, it's Thomas Jefferson. Yes, it was Roger Williams who originally said we need a wall or hedge of separation between the secular world and the sacred church. Fine, you can have those things. I don't want the government mandating what religion I have to practice. But just because you post a religious poster doesn't mean you're mandating students in that class to practice it. You're just offering it up as a reminder. Now, you know the left's going to go crazy about this. And I can tell you this right now. California could use a little more Jesus. California could use a little more religion. California could use a little more God. And in many respects, I would offer up that if you have a religion like Christianity or Judaism, you're on the right track, man. And what are you preaching for? Much of the same values. In fact, I would offer up, but between Judeo-Christian values, it's the same value system. Now, Islam, I got a little problem with. I really do. The more I study this, as we've heard from certain religious scholars, it doesn't even really appear to be a religion. It seems more about a war plan to me. So what do you think about this idea, 855-785-8255, of having the 10 Commandments in every classroom across the state? Let's go out to line one. James in Encino. What say you, James?
Good morning, Grant. Thank you for granting me the time. This is James Satami. I'm the gentleman running for recall of the governor, but right now we're talking about 10 commandments. I absolutely agree with you. I think it's a good idea, of course, being myself a Jew. Also, I was going to talk about, if you don't mind, regarding the...
Well, we're sticking to the 10 Commandments right now, so we're sticking to 10 Commandments. Anything else you would like to say on the 10 Commandments?
I fully agree. It's a great idea to have good principles, and anybody who follows good principles, they're going to go on a good path.
James, what do you say to those on the left who are going to push back against this? There was a case, by the way, out of Arkansas, I believe, where an appeals court overturned this. They vowed to, it's either Arkansas or Louisiana, they vowed to take this all the way to the Supreme Court. Very same situation. What do you say to those on the left who have a problem with it?
Well, it's a great idea if they have a better idea to put the good principles out. I'm for it, whether religious or not. Good ideas are good ideas. Good principles are good principles. So it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with religion. If they have another 10 good principles that is not religion-based, let them have it out there so we can put that out.
Yeah.
Do they have a better solution?
I'm with you. James, I appreciate the phone call. Good luck in your race for the governorship.
You,
appreciate you calling in. Absolutely. Look, folks, values are values. However you get them. I don't mind if my son reads something from the Torah that it pushes good value system. Why would I care about that? And in many respects, I'm open to him hearing different ideas. Now, I don't want teachers getting involved in teaching religion in school because they're going to botch that up, right? They can't even teach history these days in school. But I'm okay with my son hearing good, positive messages, and you don't get any more positive than the Ten Commandments. Let's go out to Craig in Marietta. Craig, what say you?
Hey, Grant.
Hey,
listen, I've said for the past 20, 30 years that take religion out of the whole thing, that there's nothing wrong with having the Ten Commandments posted. It builds morality. And, I was born and raised in California. I grew up in the 60s, and I saw them take God out of everything. But I've always said, without God in it, just look at the Ten Commandments for what it says. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. And when you go through them, some are very religious in nature of the commandments. Others are not. Others are just basic principles. And I appreciate the phone call, Craig. Thank you. Look, the fifth commandment, honor thy father and thy mother. You don't think some of our school children could use that? About how important it is to show our parents respect? We talked about thou shalt not kill. It doesn't get any more important than that. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I mean, there's a lot of us out there that could use a little bit of that one as a reminder. When you marry someone, the covenant that you make between two people should be inseparable, unbreakable. But again, you commit adultery. Think of the deep sadness it causes. Promises broken. I don't know if you recover a marriage from something like that. I wouldn't. I'd be gone, man. Gone in a heartbeat. Eighth commandment, thou shalt not steal. You have a problem with your child reading that in school? Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. All that is about honesty. If you lie to someone, you are bearing false witness. It will cause harm to you, others, your community. Don't lie. And how about thou shalt not covet? The 10th commandment. To covet means to be so jealous of something that someone else has that you want it desperately. Coveting makes a person miserable. Folks, the left hates this. They hate all of it because I think the left does all of it. Every single one of these, the left breaks on a regular basis. Is that out of line? Is that an out of line statement? I don't know. Maybe not everybody on the left, but a lot of them, because they have no religion. They have no God in their lives. They want you beholden to a higher power, being who? Their elected leaders. Thanks, but no thanks. Listen to me, folks. You want to get in good shape? You got to get with my friends over at energizedhealth.com/Grant. These folks have helped me so much. I lost 15 pounds in 2 weeks, and I hardly even did anything. I changed the way I eat around a little bit. I was still eating many of the same foods that I always like. I changed the way I work out a little bit, but I wasn't killing myself. I wasn't really even breaking much of a sweat. But they taught me about what intercellular hydration can do to your body. It's like a miracle process that they have figured out. It's a patent pending science. And I say about this program, Energized Health, the secret is in the simplicity of the science, but only they know about it. Intercellular hydration. I want you to learn about it, and then I know once you do, you will want to get on board with these guys. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. There's a masterclass there that you can take, and it's about taking your body back. All right? Whether you want to lose 15 pounds and trim it up like me, or you want to lose 200 pounds, my friends at EnergizedHealth.com can help you. They've helped so many of my Stinchfield's Army listeners and viewers. Real America's Voice right here on Rumble. You're going to love these guys. And they got videos, diet. I don't even call it diet. Recipes. They have weekly Zoom calls, personal coaching. You name it. They set you up for success. EnergizedHealth.com/Grant. Pay them a visit today. All right, folks. Have you heard this story about J.D. Vance and Senator Alex Padilla? You're probably saying, who the hell is Senator Alex Padilla? Yes, even in California, nobody knows who their United States Senator is. This is the guy that was crying about basically being detained when he tried to storm in to a Department of Homeland Security press briefing, and he acted the fool. So he's crying about all of that. Dan, if you can pull the him explaining and breaking down crying of when he stormed in and got taken out, he's put on the ground.
You've seen the video. I was pushed and pulled, struggled to maintain my balance. I was forced to the ground. First on my knees.
On the knees.
And then flat on my chest.
On my chest. Poor Jose Padilla. Wait, I mean Alex Padilla. Jose or Alex? What's his name? I don't know what his name is. Well, apparently the vice president doesn't know his name either. J.D. Vance served in the United States Senate with Alex Padilla and doesn't know his name.
Uh-oh.
Listen to J.D. Vance. That's cut 24, I believe.
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question, but unfortunately, I guess he decided not to show up because there wasn't the theater. And that's all it is. You know, I think everybody realizes that's what this is. It's pure political theater.
All right, so you know what's so funny? I think we played that soundbite on the program last week. I know I played it on the Real America's Voice show last week, and I didn't even realize he said Jose Padilla. He said Jose Padilla when the guy's name is Alex Padilla. Well, as you can imagine, Jose is very upset about this. Roll cut 25.
Oh, he knows my name. He knows my name. Look, sadly, it's just an indicator of how petty and unserious this administration is. But he's the vice president of the United States. You think he'd take the situation in Los Angeles more seriously? You know, you think maybe he'd take a moment to talk to some of the families who have been impacted, have been terrorized, to feel what's really going on the ground. And you saw him shaking hands with Marines, but did he listen to the Marines? Because we have, you know, the report after report of the Marines, so many of the Marines themselves that don't want to be there. That's not why they enlisted. Or if not the migrant families, how about the employers?
All right. Yeah, we got it from Alex Padilla, a.k.a. Jose. First off, let me comment on this. If you're a United States Marine and you sign up and you're in the National Guard, your job is to follow orders. Now, not unconstitutional orders, but it's been held up that this is completely constitutional for President Trump to regain order in the city of Los Angeles. And though you may not like the order, it's not your right to just disregard it. This is one reason. You know, one of my great regrets in life is not joining the United States military, but I don't think at the time when I was a young man I would have made a great soldier or Marine. And it pains me to say that, but if I see a hill is filled with enemies and there's 4 of us and 35 of them, and the lieutenant says, go take that hill, I would have been like, screw you, you go take that hill. There's no way we can win. That's not a good Marine. But Radar, you were a good soldier, weren't you?
Yeah.
Well, they told you to take the vax, but you wouldn't do that. But I believe that was an unconstitutional order, and it turns out we were right about that, weren't we?
We sure were.
Yes. So do you know what I'm saying, though, that when you sign up, you don't get to decide what orders you take and what you don't. Am I right?
You are correct.
Yeah. And so Padilla, he doesn't understand that. So the Marines that go, they've got to do what they've got to do. And I think many of them were probably proud to uphold the law and provide some safety and security to the federal agents, the federal buildings, and the citizens around them. Now, Padilla basically said he knows my name. Now, do you think that J.D. Vance said Alex Padilla's name wrong on purpose? Dan, the phone man, I'll ask you. Do you think J.D. Vance said it wrong on purpose, like George Bush says Saddam Hussein wrong on purpose?
No, I don't think it was that. My guess is he might know a Jose Padilla and just got him confused, because that's happened to me.
That happens to me as well when you have somebody by the same name. In fact, I think I've done it on this program. Play the J.D. Vance one more time, just the beginning when he says it. You'll see. It's just it rolls off his tongue as if it's normal.
Well, I was hoping Jose Padilla would be here to ask a question, but unfortunately, I guess he decided not to show up because there wasn't the theater.
So you can see that to me is not a guy that's trying to hammer it home. Now, Jennifer Newsom, the governor, our illustrious governor's wife, the governor of California's wife, who's making all kinds of money off the taxpayers of California, producing all kinds of videos, taxpayers paying for it. It's the biggest scam going, and I don't know why the feds don't look into that. So she takes the high and mighty road. How dare J.D. Vance do this? Here she is, Jennifer.
We are a country of immigrants. That is just a fact. It is who we are. And yet here we are watching families be targeted, watched, hunted, farm workers being chased across fields. These are some of the hardest working people on earth, and they literally feed the nation. Shame on this federal administration for doing this. Shame on them for choosing cruelty, for terrifying families, ruining children's lives, just to make a political point. Whose interpretation of Christian values is this? What happened to being the party of family values? This shouldn't be about politics. This should be about people, their well-being, our shared humanity. If you could see these families, hear from them, these moms, their children. Today I heard from community members who have lost loved ones to suicide because of the trauma and pain being inflicted on the immigrant community. If you looked into their eyes, you would understand, you would feel it. You would know this was wrong. We have to do better.
My Lord. Jane Newsom, please. Jennifer, Jane, give me a break. That with the tears. What is it with Democrats, the tears and singing? Now, my son, who's 16 years old, said something very interesting to me. He said, Dad, my friends at school are saying they're ripping children away from their families. He said, but it's a crime to come into the country illegally, right, Dad? I said, yes, son. Mind you, he's 16. He says, so if you were convicted of a crime and they brought you to prison, they'd take you away from me, right? I said, yes, they would. He said, so what's the difference? Nothing. That from a 16-year-old. Now, do I feel for the people that came here to make a better life? They get invited in by Joe Biden, an end run around the immigration system. They think they're okay with this temporary worker visa. Do I feel for them? Yes. I'm not heartless. But the reality of the situation is that temporary visa can be revoked. When it is, you have a duty to report yourself and leave. And we've had over 1 million self-deportations. Now, there is the issue of mass roundups. Many of you are not for them. I personally am now okay with them. I thought I wouldn't be, but I am. I'm okay with them. Look, this is sending a message to any other immigrant. You come here legally or don't come here at all. And that's the bottom line, because Grant Stinchfield said so. All right, folks, I'm going to tell you something that's absolutely gross. there are parasites. There are most likely parasites living in your body. I have started this parasite cleanse from the wellness company, and I am so grateful that I have. 60 million Americans living with parasites. To me, absolutely disgusting. They live in your brain. They live in your spine. They can get in your organs. They can cause cancer. Apparently now, after I'm looking at this, parasites are causing skin cancer. So the wellness company has this parasite cleanse. It's fabulous. twc.health/grant is where I want you to go. Some of your drinking water is infected with parasites. Look, the food that you get, fish that you get at the grocery store, worms crawling in it. Again, these take up residence in your body. The wellness company has sold out 3 times on this parasite cleanse. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. There's a reason they're selling out with this ivermectin and mebendazole concoction that will rid your body of parasites. Just get with the wellness company, twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. Get back to being healthy. Lose the brain fog. Increase the energy. Make sure those parasites are out. And I believe protect yourself from cancer as well. twc.health/grant. Use that promo code GRANT for free activation. Promo code GRANT for 10% off. All right, folks, let me ask you a question. Sorry for the technical problems. When we're looking at what's going on here, I will ask you, what is it about the roundups you don't agree with? We are now seeing the Trump administration going into businesses, going into farms, ranches, and checking the immigration status of workers there. I don't have a problem with this. Here's the reason. If you're working at a ranch or farm or factory and you're not legal, 2 people are breaking the law, the worker and the employer. And the employer needs to be held accountable for this. I'm not sure that has been happening. In fact, I know that has not been happening for as long as I can remember, going all the way back to probably the Reagan days, okay, when there were roundups like that in the 80s and then early 90s, even into the initial years of Bill Clinton's presidency. When you break the law, there are ramifications. I do understand that there is a situation with people who feel for the illegals. But the reality is, unless you start having consequences for the actions of breaking into America, then nothing is ever going to change. And so it was upon them. It was their onus to get things straight. Do I feel for them? Yes. Is it sad that many of them had kids here? Those kids are now American citizens, whether we like it or not, whether that was a proper policy or not until President Trump tried to upend birthright citizenship. It's still the way of the land. You were looking over your shoulder for decades and you failed to get it right. Now, what really gets me is the mainstream media. I saw an article in Newsweek about a California winemaker who has spent 30 years in California, and he got scooped up in one of these raids, and he's a fairly prominent guy, but he's here illegally. By all accounts, had abided by the law, except for the fact that he came here illegally and didn't get it right. So Newsweek and other outlets will cover that story, but they fail to cover the murderers, the rapists, the child molesters, the drug dealers, the sex traffickers that have also been arrested. And so they want to make a front page article about, oh, look at this poor man who got caught up in this. Well, if you're a winemaker and you have some success and you're making some money, you couldn't hire an attorney along the way. You couldn't say, hey, all right, I'm going to leave the country. I'm going to figure out a way to come back legally. No one else would even know. Instead, you have people stealing people's Social Security numbers, which creates havoc on them in their life. Stealing Social Security numbers, the taxes are getting paid, but it puts them into a higher tax bracket. And the next thing you know, you're have not paid the IRS as much as you should have because you're in a higher tax bracket. Now you got to argue, no. I'm not a farm worker. I'm an accountant. I don't know what you're talking about. Meanwhile, your Social Security number was used. That's an issue. So did I think that the Trump administration was going to start with the worst of the worst and they'd be busy for a long time rounding up the worst of the worst? I will acknowledge I told you that was going to happen. I didn't think they'd get to the point of worker checks, roundups, raids on businesses. I didn't think that would come for another couple of years, but it's here. And so be it. It's here. So we can say it's right, it's wrong, whatever you want. The reality is the Trump administration is well within their rights to conduct these raids. And here's the ultimate effect. People are scared, the illegals. The illegals are scared, and they are self-deporting at a record number. You know who else is scared? The illegals who wanted to come here but are now not coming here because they know, you know what? Unless you come here legally, you're not welcome. And you will be captured and you will be caught. So we have virtually no illegal crossings at the border. We have record self-deportations. I want the self-deportations to continue. They're at a faster rate right now than ICE can round people up. That's a tribute to President Trump and Tom Homan, creating the atmosphere of, you know what? Let's get it done. Let's make America safe again. Again, take a moment to say a prayer for President Trump, for the United States military, and everybody that plays a role in keeping us safe. We're going to go into some rough times right now, I believe. Terrorism, you know what, crime, etc. Say that prayer. Make it happen. I'm Grant Stinchfield. I appreciate everybody listening, watching today. God bless all of you. We will see you tomorrow.
Thanks. Bye-bye.